All right, so we'll call meeting to order. And if we could please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We got the flag right here behind us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Here.
Ted Reader.
Here.
Patrick Clark.
Here.
Sean Reedy.
Here.
Michael Gonzalez.
Here.
Tonight's agenda was
Commission Secretary's report on posting of the agenda.
Tonight's agenda was posted on February 22nd, 2019 at 11:43 a.m.
All right, next up is ceremonial items. These are awards and presentations. The Bicycle Pedestrian Commission Monthly Award acknowledging Christine Vasquez from Glen Elementary. So come on up here to the podium, and then we'll do a picture right after. So Sean, can we take this right now?
Sure. I'll say something. You don't have to say it.
Okay.
Unless you want to. Are you a speaker? That works. All right. We have Principal Vasquez here from Glenview School. I had the pleasure of going to the International Walk and Bike to School Day there back in October, and got to see in action some of the great things they're doing there. I think on that particular day, they ended up giving away 3 bicycles to students. And I had heard great things months preceding that about how they've been getting bikes to students, which is really above and beyond. I haven't heard of that happening in other schools. And Public Health has been working closely with Christine on planning that event and other events there. And so I wanted to read some comments that they had. Principal Vasquez is always looking for opportunities to encourage students to walk and bike to school often. She's the one asking the CERTS and SBBC staff what encouragement and educational opportunities are available for her school because she wants them all. She feels that the more students exposed to pedestrian and bicycle activities, they will be more motivated to walk and bike to school. During the planning of the International Walk and Bike to School Day, never once did she hesitate to cancel a meeting, a walk audit, or a practice bike ride, even though she had a full agenda. She makes herself available during every walk and whole day and is out there, rain or shine. Her positive attitude and passion for biking shows to the point where she has been able to get bicycle donations to raffle off on a monthly basis. Principal Vasquez is fostering a positive connection between parents, students, community organizations, and law enforcement to create a walking and biking community. That particular day, I was impressed to see we had a couple of school board members, a county supervisor, Wasserman was there, CHP, Gilroy PD, all kinds of people from Public Health and SBBC. And, I enjoyed leading the bike rally that day with one of the school board members. Thank you. What we always do, although we're not used to this room, is we have you come up and take a picture, and we usually have some awards. This is what we have today.
You guys can use the backdrop back there.
We weren't sure. That one or the
Which one
flag?
do you want the flag
Or the flag?
Good flag.
Yeah, we'll do it over here.
So you taking it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can also put it right here between the flags.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's pictures.
If you guys care about the flags,
Oh yeah, totally.
Actually, I think
There's some hammer gels in there too, some riding gels if you're on a long ride. Little fuel to go. Of course not. Oh, happy birthday. Going out for dinner or anything? Yeah, nice going. Well, good job. Good job. Thank you. Yeah.
Apparently singing that song costs $10,000.
You're like, no, stay. All right, next up is presentations to commission. This is public comment by members of the public on items not on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Seeing none. Next up is the Valley Transportation Authority Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, VTA BPAC report. And I don't see Carolyn here.
Everybody found it?
Yeah.
So if there's no discussion on any of the items that Carolyn wrote up in her report, we can just receive report, comment. Sound good? It sounds like for majority of it, she'll have more information for us next time around too. Okay, any members from the public that wish to comment? Seeing none. All right. Next up is the consent calendar. Just need a motion to approve the consent calendar from anyone.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, good. Old business, general plan advisory committee, GPAC update. Commissioner Chad Reeder.
Yeah, actually I have an update.
Yay.
Yeah.
It's been months.
Yeah, months, almost a year, right? So we're going to reconvene March 28th at the Gilroy Library Community Room. The key topic will be presentation of the report prepared by the Economic and Planning Systems Gilroy Place-Based Economic Development Strategy. That was presented to the City Council on the December of last year. So I guess next meeting I still won't have anything because I think it's the Thursday after our Tuesday meeting, but after that I should have some updates. So.
Okay. All right, any members from the public that would like to comment? Anybody else here have anything to add? No? Okay. All right. Next up is the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission Monthly Award nomination. So this is an opportunity for all of us or members from the public that wish to make a nomination for our next monthly award. Does anybody have an idea? I really want to try to get back to getting some kids in there too. I asked our safety patrol teacher at El Roble if he had anybody, because we did that for us last year. He kind of picked like the top person out of there. But I haven't got anything back from him yet. But I'm sure if I pressured him a little bit, I'm sure I could get a name.
It could also be the group, right? So the safety patrol,
Yeah.
members of the safety.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, totally.
My children's school do a really good active program with biking to school, and they organize that very effectively. That's Luigi Aprea. So the principal of that school is behind that.
Have we had
Consider
her?
her.
We haven't had her in.
Okay. We could do that.
All right. Yeah, she does really good work, and she organizes all that very effectively, and it's pretty successful. Good turnout as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I spoke at that school in the fall to try to encourage parents to help her out more.
Okay.
We do have related with, there's someone we know there who's the search coordinator too, who's probably helped her now. His name is Martin Barragan. But yeah, I think that would be a good recommendation.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Reach out?
Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely. Yeah, so it'll be for the next meeting.
Okay.
What's her name again?
Miss Espinoza?
Right.
Do you remember her first name?
I just saw her.
Okay.
Miss.
We'll get it for you guys. Yeah, Principal Espinoza from Luigi Aprea, and then we'll get the full name and the right spelling. Yeah. All right. Any members from the public that wish to comment? All right. So next up is the Safe Routes to School report update. Commissioner Sean Reedy.
Okay. In the packet, wanted to draw attention that there's a Safe Routes to School coordinator workshop on Thursday, March 7th at the Wheeler Community Center from 9:30 to 12:30. It's kind of public health giving kind of a really last strong effort before their grant ends to see if they can get additional community members from different community organizations and different parents to get trained in
how to run safe routes to school things at the schools, because it's very dependent on parent volunteers and people at community organizations to keep things going once that grant ends. Speaking of that, the grant's ending in June, and they were hoping to continue working with us under ATP Cycle 4. The latest update is it's looking extremely unlikely that they're going to be getting funded. That was recent news. Before it was not looking great. Now it's looking like almost no chance.
What contributes to that?
Yeah, the grants get scored on a 1 to 100 scale, and they're in competition with communities all over the state. And then if a community gets state funded, they move through. If not, they go to a regional level, and they can possibly still get funded there. And some places did, but on the regional scoring, Gilroy, the program they were hoping for South County, for Gilroy and Morgan Hill, got scored just a little bit lower. It made some lists where if like 4 or 5 grant applications, if they all said no to their money, which is unlikely, then Gilroy could get it. But we're just a little under them, and there's probably some things Gilroy could do that we could look at, and we could talk to public health about that could put us in better standing for grants. But I didn't really do my homework on being able to give you an exhaustive list of what those things are now. I did look. I'm aware of some things that we could do, and some things are just out of our control. There's just some things we will not score as well as a community that might have a higher need in some way.
Okay, appreciate it.
One thing I came across is they were giving like an extra point for communities that are Vision 0, but there's only about 2 or 3 of those in the county at this point. We're not one of them. And that's just 1 point.
I'll make a show with the March 7th event. I'll be there.
Yeah, great. Also, I'm going to be attending with public health the district level parent meetings to reach out to parents in March on the 11th and 12th to encourage parents to get involved in Safe Routes to School. And the other thing that's happening that's not directly part of the Safe Routes to School, but we're really excited about, and they teach a lot of bicycle skills, is the Specialized Foundation Grant. And I don't know if Zach and Chad were able to go to an event just yesterday, right? And did you want to say anything about that, or about any of the grant news that's been passed along? Or
Sure. Okay. So what I've heard is that Specialized Foundation was a grant that we applied for Solar Sono middle last year, and Chad reached out. He knew the PE teacher, Anthony Pacella, over there, and so that's in the school right now, and we reached back out to them to try to get the grant opened up again, and Superintendent Flores recommended to both the principals at both other middle schools to apply for it. She really liked the program. She had been out there to see the positive effects of it, and we heard that they've moved on to the second round. There are a couple of things that we identified that would make them stand out even more, and one of them is to be able to do short field trips in the middle of school on the bikes, either accessing the bike ped trail and going down to like the future BMX park, down into Christmas Hill, just sort of anywhere to go outside. So right now we're trying to figure out if there's barriers to that. And there's other school districts around the United States that pretty much have made it work. So we have those as resources. But yesterday was basically, there's been other bicycling assemblies. But yesterday was pretty cool because we had the captive audience of relatively pretty much everybody at Solar Sono, and it was just about bicycling in the assembly. Okay. And so there was a guy named Dylan, who's a pro mountain bike rider, that came down and he talked, and he gave sort of an inspirational speech and talked to the kids about what he does and what got him into cycling. And then myself and Chad got out there and spoke. The whole public health Safe Routes to School group talked. Past award winner from here, Karina Rodriguez, and a classmate of her got out there and kind of fired everybody up and told them they're going to be trying to come back to the middle school and sort of teach them about programs and help them So then when they move on to Gilroy High School, which already has a safe route to school committee, so that synergy was all there. Christy also got out there and spoke, and we talk about the new South County mountain bike team that was formed. So it was actually pretty cool to have everybody sort of in the room, and yeah, the CEO from Specialized Foundation was there.
2 school board members.
Yeah, 2 school board members. Like it was a lot of fun.
It was great seeing all that energy from all basically people from Gilroy, realizing that you have it from the young age of the kids the whole way up through the high school, and then having a commission like us able to help direct it, keep it moving forward. So it was good.
Yeah, and they really like the fact that there's that off-street bike ped path that can take the kids pretty much 2 miles this way, 2 miles that way. They like that. Yeah, and that's because that's something that they really want.
And they like being, what he said, 10.5 miles from Specialized headquarters to here. So they don't have to jump on a plane to go to see a program in action. They can come right here and see it. So there's a lot of
so when they have people visiting and stuff like that, they can just, let's go look at the program that works. It's right here.
Especially when we get that BMX pump track right beside.
Yeah, and so that was one thing that the CEO reached out, and he pretty much said, hey, whatever we can do to support and to get that bike park up there, I can see that as showing off as a model of what you guys are doing and how our program can connect into the city for these kids, for whether it's after school, before school, on the weekends, just to keep it going. So it was.
There's a fire building for this. It's going to be really good one.
It
all comes together. So
they took pictures of like 30 of the kids that are already in the program, and their faces are going to be featured at Specialized headquarters when they have their global meeting. And basically, so those CEOs, I assume from other countries, can actually go up and visually see a face that is a product of the Riding for Focus. And so all these local kids will be up there for that open house, and they're going to leave them. I think he said they're going to leave them up there for a year inside the museum that's in their front lobby. So yeah, it was cool.
It was awesome, man.
Yeah, I was happy to be there.
And he also mentioned too. He said the mountain bike league. I forget the name. Sorry, Chris.
South County Composite.
South County Composite is. He said, the way it's happening right now, there's no reason the high schools in Gilroy shouldn't be able to start having their own team. So, but it's going to take work. So, volunteers who are
to get the word out.
Yes,
I would love that. Any other outlet we can have for kids and teens. There's just not a lot going on here. Sure, there's a skate park. Sure, there's a few sports lines. We are definitely in need of more outlets.
And what something they were talking about, we're the Specialized Foundation. We're phase 1. Phase 2 is taking basically bikes into STEM and talking about the physics of the bikes, the bike moving parts and stuff. So it's more than just riding a bike.
Right.
And he also said that. What was it? I forget. I have to get it right. It was exercise 3 times a week for 6 weeks, and it's other. Their evidence is off of bikes because that's what they're basing it off of. But it's pretty much probably any exercise. But the bikes specifically increase education, learning capacity in kids. I mean, it's proven. So it's more than just riding a bike. There's way more benefits to this. So
yeah, I believe
it's great. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's really good work, guys.
Do anything else, John?
No, that's all.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to add?
Not this time.
Any members from the public that wish to comment?
The principal is Tammy has been on it.
Tammy, yes.
Yeah, I remembered.
And on the same token, that the principal at Fullerton seems to be very important.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we got 2 candidates. One for next one.
Thank you.
Can do.
Thank you.
My daughter attends Fullerton. The kids are very, very excited that they want to get on campus. Like the enthusiasm just plummeted because they were just
Circles there. So the gentleman beside you, person beside you, school board member, helping this happen.
Can you their names?
For the
So that's Enrique Diaz. Christy, is it Garrison?
Garrison, yes.
Christy Garrison. Okay, all right. That's it on that one. Next up is the Bicycle Friendly Community sign update, and we're going to move this to the next meeting, just because we haven't staff hasn't had time to figure out the locations on there. So we'll move that to the next meeting. And same thing with the First Street Highway 152 improvements update. We're going to move that to the next meeting as well, just to give staff a little more time.
Okay.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah, fine.
Cool. Okay, so new business, strategic plan and goals for 2019. So what I did is I attached last year's strategic plan and the work plan for you guys. And basically, I would say what we did last year, we created this 2 years ago. And last year what we did is we basically went through and just started crossing off stuff that we had already gotten achieved. Or we crossed off stuff that we thought, we tried it and it just didn't work. Maybe we'll try it next year or whatever. A lot of stuff, we left it on there too. And then there's also room to add on more, right? There's a lot of stuff that we've done over the last year. I purposely also had the Healthy Cities program dashboard that I attached in the packet to be able to use. This is something that we used last year. And for instance, there was, achieve bike and or walk friendly designation. That's something that we got we missed the deadline. So that's something that'll be checked off on this dashboard when it comes out in 2019. But there's quite a few things on here, especially in the healthy recreation and transportation part that we can use. There's some stuff on the reduce youth access to tobacco that Parks and Rec Commission is going to be going for. And I'm not quite sure which of those specifically yet. Bless you. What else did I have on here? There was another one about, another one they're trying to go after is the smoke-free parks, trails, and recreation areas.
I'm so down with that. I've been to the park so many times people are smoking.
I had no idea that it was still even allowed. So it's little things like that. And what we're able to do, obviously, is it's not our job, the walk friendly designation, but whatever we want to get done, we work with staff. But my goal is that most of this stuff we either can get what's best practice at other agencies. For instance, the access to water access policy. We mirrored that a few months back last year. We mirrored that off another agency, and I wrote it up and just basically gave it to Gary to be able to work with. So little things like that. I would say if you see something that catches your eye on here, let's put that on the list. And it's stuff that we can do, and it's it's nice that we can be able to do a checkbox on something and get us higher up in the rankings. So
in your mind, what would be the lowest hanging fruit in this list?
Well, so we got the bike friendly designation already. Even though we wrote up the water access policy, that hasn't been adopted on staff level as far as I know yet. But that's something that it's already practiced.
It's already practiced and it's been approved at staff level.
Yeah.
We're just not going to approve it at policy level. We need to take it to council and actually do it by resolution or something.
Perfect.
We're already practicing that. We've already accepted that.
Okay. So something like that, all we need to do is I know the person that does this dashboard is just let them know, send them the policy basically, and they'll check that off. So that's kind of already done. What's that?
Who's the person?
I forget his name off the top of my head. He works for public health. Oh, you're thinking of Michelle?
I think so.
She works with them, but there's one person that's in charge of updating it.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to say his name is Fred, but I can't remember. I'd have to look.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. So Safe Routes to School Task Force is on here. That's something that's we're getting very close to finally being one. It's the what do you think, Sean? Do you think after April that'll be an official? It kind of already feels official.
Yeah, we pretty much have that. We just need to officially name it that and agree that it's going to continue.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff, I can sort of say it's my fault because I could have sworn I sent them our Safe Routes to School resolution, but it says that that it hasn't been achieved yet.
So
we have one. Huh?
What's that mean?
What?
It says it's achieved, but model possible.
Strategy achieved. It basically means that we're talking about it, probably.
What do you mean by
But
we're not a model?
No, we are. For some reason,
Yeah.
it didn't get checked off. Because we are. The school board actually has a resolution, and so does the city from quite a while ago. It's just a matter of sending it to this group.
I think I've heard discussion that they would prefer if it was like a joint resolution and it was like more out in front. Like I don't think anybody's even drawn any attention to that besides that we've talked about it every once in a while. There's probably nobody else talking about those resolutions.
Okay.
So Zach, one of these catches my eye under support healthy commutes.
Okay, what do you see?
What would other cities have done in the past to achieve the incentives for walking and your biking?
So I think what I read on some other other cities, it was on a staff level, but this seems vague enough to me that maybe it means something more than that too. Maybe it means,
that's what I think as well.
Yeah, like choosing to get out of here
to choose a healthier route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and right now the only thing we have is bike to work day once a year.
Might be one worthy of consideration, just doing a deep dive on.
Yeah. So I'm gonna write this down. So we'll add that one. Why don't we also go down the list that we have already? These top 5 underneath goals. Number 1 would be the safe routes to school, growth and sustainability. So we have an action plan already, right?
Yes.
We've formed a task force that's one more meeting away probably from being an official task force.
Nice.
Gary, has there been any talk at all about there being any sort of a walker bike coordinator position or somebody that's dedicated to just that?
We put in funding requests for the budget to actually share a position through Measure B funding with Morgan Hill. So that's right. It's way through the process right now.
Nice. Cool.
But in lieu of that,
yeah, it's still those of us that put the hat on for that moment. Okay, so
that we might find out by June, or you think
Before
it's going
that,
to take even longer than May?
there's a public hearing in
May.
Okay. In fact, over the next number of meetings, which are public, there'll be discussions about potential new staff items.
So that'll be a chance for us to be able to, get up there and speak in public comment too and talk about it. So we don't have to agree on the order of these at all. Let's not do that yet. Let's just move on to the next one and make sure we still want to. Well, first of all, do we want to keep everything that's still up there as our goal? We've worked mainly last year to try to get it done. I think we're almost there on achieving all of it. We left that up there as number 1 last year, I think, because it was just close to us, just being dads and having the kids in the school system and stuff like that, and it was something tangible, and we had a lot of support for it. So
I think it's good at number 1 because it's not bikes, it's everything, right? Just getting people to adopt a different type of life. It's
community builder.
Yeah, it's community. It's all it helps everybody in the city of Gilroy. I think it's a really good one.
It's a good top level goal as well.
Yeah.
It's something I believe we can get broader advocacy for, get the community involved in, especially if we made it more accessible to the public.
One thing that maybe we can add on the language part of it is that I can add in there sort of like a safe routes for all. And because that's something that goes back to where we sort of dwelled into this other part of like, whether it's apartment complexes and talking about, safe routes to school or commercial occupancies, but we're also still talking about what's the safest way for me to get there as a resident to that commercial property, and incentives to bike or walk to there if you work there. rather than driving your car there.
So safe routes to all is a good way of selling it, and I would like the first bullet point to be safe routes to school.
Mhm.
And see what
And
goes.
put that on the after part of it.
That's just really easy to package up and portray the good need that comes from it.
Do we know the exact amount of Measure B that's coming in? The funding? Have they said that? 30 something? Yeah.
I can. I think that was for the large.
Yeah, that was for
the
streets.
I believe the number currently is between 35 and 36,000 per year.
That's right.
Sounds right. So maybe I'll just update that 9 to a 6. Okay, should we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. BMX track in Gilroy. Work with Garlic City BMX nonprofit or any organization. So the verbiage of Gilroy Sports Park and Parks Master Plan to get a BMX dirt track, pump track, asphalt pump track, get that in there. I think that we can pretty much take that out. I mean, it's a goal that should be added in there because they're not in there. But, over the last year, since last October, the dirt pump track was going to go in at Christmas Hill Park in a location. This one originally was like a national level, where you can host races and bleachers and lighting and fencing and all that kind of stuff. But we still threw in, dirt pump track in there because it's like, come on, let's get something, in here. That's why that verbiage is like
okay,
that.
So the high level ask, the greatest good, and then what we end up with.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can probably remove it.
Yeah. So maybe should we just remove
Yeah.
the entire thing? That's what do you guys think of that?
It's been achieved.
I don't think it's going to go any farther. There's a lot of other plans for Gilroy Sports Park right now.
We need to wait probably a year or two to see what happens with the city's project with LAFCO.
Yeah. Yeah. And since we did move so far along with that dirt pump track, that I think we should just focus on trying to make that work before anything else.
So if you're saying that, I know we originally targeted the sports, but to me, we're targeting a BMX track, right? That
Yeah.
we realize the benefit for the kids and
Mhm.
everything. So you're trying to get rid of this altogether, or just make it just a
Narrow it down
neutral,
just to
we just want a BMX track.
Yeah, narrow it down.
Okay,
Narrow it down basically to the dirt pump track
and we
language.
don't mind that. We can always
Add it
when they-
later.
if they realize they can get that
Yeah.
land at the sports, hey, we still
It
want
makes
a
it a
better
little more
one.
achievable. I mean, it's a good high level ask, but this is the one we're definitely narrowing in on.
Mhm.
So
And if you have 500 kids riding it every weekend, that we need a bigger
Right.
facility. If you only have a couple kids at the
Exactly.
time, we can say,
If
hey,
you
we'll
got
hold on.
that and then
Yep.
evaluate it.
Okay. So the next one, this came from a couple different people, conversations with the Downtown Business Association and the mayor's State of the City last year. So support the building of a second Paseo walkway. There is still conversation going around, but there's been no action. And what I pretty much told them was that whatever they need from us, whether it's like research or figure out how other cities have taken those small, narrow streets and turned them into just for bike and ped and scooters, that we can, that we can do that and help with that. But that the initiation of this is more on the private parties and the cities.
Right. We have a history of downtown contention with, the enforcement of their buildings and all
Mhm.
of that. Would it be an act of eminent domain at this point if you wanted to go forward with that?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I heard a talk about it during the retreat, the council retreat, but there was no anything further.
No further action.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be eminent domain. All we're saying is Gourmet Alley, which is the pass through that people as opposed to going downtown between Monterey and it's city owned anyhow, right? I believe it's a city street,
Mhm.
so it's just been the city converting it to a non-automobile.
there's a lot of those buildings that have the back end that they don't do anything with. So it'd be like activating the back part of your property and coming out into the alley. It doesn't mean that we can't still keep it in there, but no one's reached out to me and told me like keep it up there, and I haven't heard any other conversation. So we could leave it, you know, in the goals, but take it off of the top
I'd say
5.
take it off from the top, keep it for consideration. It's definitely low priority. Respect everything else.
Okay. Design and build a bike ped bridge for Hecker Pass Trail at Bursell Road to Gilroy Gardens. This is still something that keeps coming back up. I know the Chamber of Commerce is doing their vision document right now. It's something that they've listed. I know that Gilroy Gardens wants to eventually try to go all year round.
Yeah.
I know that they want to increase their attendance to have a broader range of attendees, and to be able to get all those kids that are 12 to 14 to 15 years old, you know, being able to not have to worry about getting someone to drive them out there.
So in terms of this, Gary, what's your read on that in terms of the city's priorities and your priorities? What would it cost to do that if we wanted to do that today?
A bridge is a significant investment.
Right.
It would cost a significant amount of money. We don't have general funds or any other funding source other than potential grants to fund that. But I know we've talked about grants in the past.
Yeah, Water District was one that.
This would be one that would be of a substantial size that would be worthwhile if we could find something for a project like this. So this is what we should keep our eye on.
And how many jurisdictions to get across the creek are there? Do you know? Like when you do anything, when you close Uvis or Miller down?
It depends if you're doing, how many permits would you need?
Yeah, I mean, what's the
It depends if
level
you're
of
actually
bureaucracy?
working in the creek or outside the creek. Typically for a bridge, if it's a small little creek, if you put buttons on either side and you're spanning the whole thing, it's a lot less. I think Water District 7 want to be involved. If you start getting into the bank itself, then like you see driving down 101 running channels, does some cuts. That requires Fish and Game, Army Corps, Regional Board, as well as.
So yeah, I'm just trying. There's more hurdles than just possibly money. So that's part of So I think it's but I'm all for it. I think we should do it.
This is also something that, you know, reaching for the moon. We did put this on our budget request to gain attention.
I like that. Okay, perfect.
What number did you put on?
I think it was the last one. Oh, cost-wise? I think I wrote approximate because I heard the same thing you heard. I heard it could be in upwards of $1 million easily. Some prefab bridges I've heard that you could buy the prefab bridge for like $500,000. But just like you said, it depends. What are you going to do? Are you going to attach it to the side of the Caltrans bridge that's already there? Are you going to make it its own? The cost just goes up and up. It's very expensive. The reason I like to keep it has been people's visions. It was even the vision of the developer. Even mentioning it. You can see it on old maps, the Hecker Pass bike ped map that went around. You can see this little angle off the side where it says future connection to Gilroy Gardens. People want to connect it, but it's expensive. And they don't make a lot of money at Gilroy Gardens. Yeah. The city's got other funding priorities. So I don't know.
It's good to keep the viz on it. I like it. It's more of like a ceremonial goal. And obviously it can't be touched for quite some time. But having the community know about it, it's something that we would consider. Having visibility on what it would take to do it would also be beneficial. Would we ever be able to talk about what it would take to do something and do that more visibly beyond just a meeting in City Hall?
To do this?
Yeah, could I do like some sort of website that explained what it was and what it would touch and what it would cost?
Could you do something like that?
Yeah, could I possibly collaborate? Fantastic.
Yeah, you could certainly do that. I don't know if I would want to commit much of my staff time at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't request that of you. But.
So I could put you in touch with another dad that goes to my school that works for Hannah Brunetti, which is the engineering firm in downtown.
Yeah, as long as
he's the one that he actually gave me some information I'll pass on to you. Okay. And he was the one that talked to me about prefab bridges and the difference between the spans and the shortest span and the longest span and going over creeks and stuff like that.
Okay.
My opinion would get to the end there. You know, you're going to be looking at 5 this year. If you have some that are higher priority, I would put the ones that are doable, manageable, not some pie in the sky. Let's just keep a placeholder type of projects. Just my
valid opinion.
There are places where bridges have been built for bike ped paths in Gilroy, and there's other ones that are planned. But usually, what happens is a really large grant for $2 or $3 million gets used to build a trail, and a bridge is part of it. But that doesn't mean that something couldn't happen to grant fund this bridge.
You never know.
Yeah, you could build another bike
Visibility's
trail.
key, as long as you just keep it in the public eye. If it doesn't need to be a part of our goals, it's something I can still work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's certainly as we work towards updating our bike and master plan,
Mm-hmm.
if not next year, maybe the year after,
Mhm.
grant money, then I think as we identify key projects, I think this might become right service in terms of priorities for us. And we put ourselves in a position maybe for grant money, especially if it's something that's identified
Mhm.
in a master plan.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we branch it off into short-term goals that are actually actionable, and then long-term goals we'll consider.
Okay. So should we keep that up there in the top, or take off
We'll put
the?
it first on long-term.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing too is this is going to be our 2019 goals, right? So it's what can we accomplish 1 year from now,
Yeah.
Yep.
right? So
Yeah.
probably not gonna have a bridge, but can we get a feasibility study or something? Probably give us more definition or something, approximate cost or something, and
Mhm.
or options, maybe like 3 options with cost or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
That doesn't take a lot. And throwing some things out there, Gary, I'm hoping maybe you would have. But
Those staff going through the budget
Yeah.
process the last couple of weeks has been very eye-opening for me in
Uh-huh.
terms of what I'm used to in terms of being able to have funding spent.
Mhm.
I can't commit,
So I shouldn't ask you for any money. Seriously.
and I am asking for certain
Yeah.
funding. I'm asking for safe routes to school money
Mhm.
to be for just doing minor improvements like we talked about. We'll see how far that goes, but I've got requested for 12 to 15 items.
Mhm.
Hoping to get it through.
Okay.
So, investigate or look for public. I know you're talking about maybe doing something on social media or something. So,
Yeah.
so maybe it's investigating options and making awareness
Mhm.
of it or something for the
Exactly.
next year, as opposed to
Awareness.
saying building the bridge,
Yes.
but just
Do long-term research on long-term goals and have visibility on that, and then make your most actionable goals that of next year. I'm fully behind that. And I think if we can start putting material out to the public on what we consider our long-term goals, it shows that we're really acting ahead.
Mhm.
absolutely
I'm willing to drive that as well.
Okay.
excellent.
I think we may have the link to it somewhere on here, but one thing that could help is if it somehow, this would be long-term, this wouldn't get it done quickly, but if it were to get on the county list of projects, there's a list that a couple
Right.
projects may happen in the next 10 to 20 years, and it's not even, I don't believe that bridge is even on that list.
Data would be the
Right.
moving factor there.
And so then what happens is those get scored, those get scored and looked at under criteria, and then the projects that get the highest scores end up, moving forward.
That's a reasonable
Yeah,
goal.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
manageable. That's something.
Okay. So I'm going to take that number off away from that, but leave it on here, right? Okay. The number 5 was implement green bicycle lanes. That was something that was accomplished. It's already been done.
That's right.
We've added some. There's already plans for some on the Automall Parkway.
Some on First Street.
Plans on First Street. Yeah. So
Is that a continuing goal, or is it considered done?
yeah, it was.
Well,
Which one agree?
Go ahead. No, say it. I was gonna say it's done. I'm pretty sure that it's a part of the process now.
Uh-huh.
At least on new stuff.
and
It's a
what
tool.
What we're doing is we're looking at implementing a lot of bike facilities, buffered bike lanes on higher speed roadways, and when we're doing that, we're going to be green bike lanes at conflict points. So at intersections where they cross over turn lanes, where they transition maybe driveways. So we'll be using it.
So with the budget process, I mean, how many intersections do you think you'll have budget for?
It's not on an intersection by intersection basis. It's more like when we're putting in bike facilities, we will use green bike
Okay.
lanes where we can, where it's appropriate. I don't think it makes sense to do it all throughout. You see some cities.
Yeah, no, I know, yeah.
Stretches of green. I think that detracts from it. Actually takes it away from drivers seeing it as a difference. So if we can just do it at conflict points where we want to bring high visibility to.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, with the budget, it's like probably in all real with the cost, with the money you have, you can probably do 2 intersections, maybe next or something like that. High risk
I would
intersections.
like to commit to doing any time we put in And any
Yeah,
time,
okay.
so as we're doing new street resurfacing,
Okay.
I'm asking my staff to look and see if there's opportunities to put in
Okay.
bike facilities, and those green bike lanes would follow through and be implemented as necessary. So it's not just let's pick an intersection. And certainly, if you
Yeah, I get it. I'm just trying to, because
we're just using it throughout as a tool as a common practice.
but I'm just trying to make sure we're on the same page. When we hear, a risky intersection, there's lots of them in Gilroy. You're not going to do 20 intersections next year, so you have probably budget to do a couple, and then as we do improvements,
We do have an annual striping contract that again we're asking to be funded for next year for the budget process, and that would could be a situation where we could do some minor improvements on call if we do have a specific intersection, but it's more based on our analysis, lanes issues, things that you guys bring up. So if you've got specific locations,
Miller.
The next one, basically active transportation for Gilroy. This was talking about a bike share program. This is pre even us talking about any of the bike share programs that had come in. Perhaps we should write in there. This is still definitely a long-term goal. It's something that we've always talked about and try to chase new companies around and get them to come and talk to us and see what they have to offer. It's still ongoing, but one thing we did not have at that point was even talking about scooters. So I think that it would benefit us to at least write, actually change the language from bike share program to like e-bikes and e-scooters, since regular pedal bikes really aren't being launched anywhere anymore either.
I'd agree with that. I was at Santa Cruz just this last weekend, and everybody had a green
Jump.
plastic bike.
Uh,
I don't know if you're familiar with that brand. I'm
Mine.
not, but it was
Mine.
everywhere.
They have red ones there too.
I know they have Jump there.
mobile bikes, getting
Uh-huh.
out of the bike. They announced, in fact, I was talking to some ex-colleagues up in San Mateo. They had given San Mateo a 30-day notice, and they got the letter, and literally the next day they disappeared overnight. So, they're gone. They're not doing bikes anymore.
All scooters.
Scooters.
And the scooters just got banned from San Jose State as of last night. So.
Oh, yeah? What? So
Yeah.
Neuron can't. Oh, we're not going to meet the bike summit anymore. They haven't picked a location yet.
So it's
Wow, it's evolving.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up.
Fantastic.
So I'd like to still keep that on there as a long term. I'll just, like I said, I'll change the bike share program. I'll change it to e-bike and e-scooter.
Question for you.
What's up?
Would that fall under incentivizing the public to use alternative transportation?
Incentives for walking or biking, having a
By
bike share
providing
program already
stuff,
there for
yeah.
them. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that'll help out. And I'm not quite sure whether to put this one underneath there or not, but there are car shares that are out there now too that I'm sure some of you might know. One of them specifically is called GIG, G-I-G car share. They're Priuses. They have bike racks on top. They have home bases, so you can leave the home base and come back, but you have to be within those networks to drop them off.
Just like Zipcar?
Yeah, and
Also Santa Cruz?
yeah. Do they have bike racks on the top?
I think so.
Yeah, that was one thing that really caught my eye about this company. So I've talked to the Chamber of Commerce about that, adding a car share as well. They already know we're advocating for e-scooters, e-bikes, but adding a car share.
Yeah, why not?
So maybe I could put that underneath here because that would still be active transportation, I would think, because you physically don't you don't need it. It just it's there ready for you, and it's another thing to incentivize people to walk or bike.
Okay, keep it.
Does that sound good to you guys? Add that in there. Car share.
Sure.
Next is the building a downtown network that encourages biking, walking, encourage bicycle parking at all public events. I think we did a pretty good job working with other partners last year on this, whether it was the free bike valets for Downtown Live that Shifty Cycles did. Garlic Festival already has free parking. Yeah, I mean, any opportunity. For instance, in our packet, you'll see Poppy Jasper Film Festival. It was because they reached out not only to help promote something that's happening in Gilroy, but it's us encouraging to walk or bike into downtown. Not to drive your car there.
Will they have some sort of valet parking?
They're not going to do that. No, I didn't. I mean, not that I haven't asked them to do that yet. But what they've done is they've shared the map of downtown and where all the bicycle parking locations are. Vehicle back and angle parking for downtown Gilroy on Monterey Road during design and repaving. We tried to do that, but it ended up being our thoughts that the community just wasn't quite ready for it during the restriping. The repaving that's happening this spring. But what we are still trying to do is identify a pilot location somewhere on Eagleberry where we can do public outreach and do striping and actually have the conversation for a few months or whatever about what backlit angle parking is. And I know Gary's been a proponent of that, and hopefully that, I think that's still something to leave on here. This was actually something too that Planning Commission Chair Tom Fisher, said to keep it on there.
Yeah.
It was something that has always been brought up in any big walking or biking events, and how just more safe it is for
everybody.
Everybody.
Kids in the cars, for the cyclists, riding the
blindly
bikes,
pulling out of into
Backing
the
up
street is just not safe for anybody.
The rear doors in the car opening out in the traffic. Right? Back in,
So, I mean, hopefully we can do a pilot this summer. So I don't know if that's something that could be something that we could move up and as one of the top goals, or simply just keep it as something as our long-term goals. But that we don't have to answer that right now if you don't want to. But we
could.
could.
The pilot program. If we get a pilot program for this year. Right. So maybe not the Monterey Street, but at least do a pilot program. See if you can get interest into it.
In terms of actionability, it does seem feasible, but probably not within next year.
Well, from what Gary was talking about, is that there might be a possibility of doing the pilot this summer.
I think it's something we could even just do a pop-up.
Yeah.
I like the idea of pop-ups. Maybe it's something we assign an intern. That person does the research, does the marketing for it, does the event, and then I get some feedback, surveys and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they were doing it in other cities with hay bales. You just put hay bales down as your day, so people, you don't have to repave. You don't have to do. It's basically gets people to donate hay bales.
Low cost, and try to get as many people as we can to get down there and try it out.
Sure, I'm fine with that being bumped up. What does everybody else?
Yeah, sounds good. When Gary mentioned pop-ups, I was thinking there's county health might be able to support us with that, although it would have been more likely under the new grant. Because the new grant was to be more community oriented and we didn't get that. The older grant probably is going to need to be tied to a school somehow. So I don't know if they'll be able to support us with that. But they were offering training and pop-up demos to us. We just needed to figure out
where we're going to do
something to do.
I like that. It's extremely visible and it shows that we're doing stuff. Not like we're not doing anything. Just more things that the public sees that associate with us.
And we're thinking progressive. We're not just catching up to everybody, right? Everything's happening. Also, how do we fix this now?
Yeah.
So
It's going to be a thought leader.
Complete streets policy added to the general plan 2040 during GPAC. So this ties right into something that's on here too, where it's just getting more health language inside the general plan.
Yeah. So, and Gary, can you reach out to what's his name? Who's doing the GPAC too? So I talked to him, and I talked to the mayor, and I talked to council member Kat Tucker, and there's always an agenda. It's always for GPAC's always about because of the was it measure what forced us to restrict growth? Measure H. So we're redoing our zoning. But I brought this up, and I don't know how to get it added on the agenda to get it blessed while the GPAC's open. And that's basically according to what the research you did, right? That it was at a city council meeting that they added as an addendum or something, and it says as soon as the GPAC's open, they wanted to add it back in. But I don't even know how to even get that on the agenda that gets blessed by everybody to get in there. I mean, are we going to vote the GPAC? Are we voting in there too? It hasn't been really clear to me the whole time. Yeah, on the GPAC. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I've asked them all, and they're all just like, yeah.
And we're starting that back up
next month.
March,
You should just ask.
Yeah, I have, but that's my point. And everybody's like, okay, and I'm just, I'll send an email out there, but I don't think anybody really knows. That's the thing. Just get agendized like here, and all of a sudden we all vote on it. I mean, is it similar to this?
Yeah, I would assume so.
So,
I'm sorry, what's the aggregate?
all we have to do is, I believe all we have to do is say that it has to be added to the GPAC that we have to say we are a complete streets community. We already are. We've been doing it.
But
we just need to add it.
It's not written anywhere.
It's not written in the GPAC.
City resolution.
Correct.
So is there no reason for it to even be written, those things to be written in the general plan itself?
It should be in circulation. So that's something that I'm going to be working with Stan on.
Stan, thank you.
So I can go ahead and mention it.
Can you and see if I need to, if I need to, make a motion or something during it? And again, I have talked to him, and I talked to Kat, and
I think that's what it was, because some of the resolutions that have been more for like grants and stuff that we've done, they're just not written in the.
Okay. One of the things I like to do with this here is you guys are talking, I'm sending emails to me.
Thank you very much.
I'm putting together the agenda for the Vacant
Thank
parking program.
you.
One of the other things, also mentioning that when the general plan, a couple other things that I noted sort of over the last year is that this might come after the general plan, but having to do with parking policies and getting more healthy language in there as well, to include, like bike parking and reducing the number of parking spots required in commercial properties, little things like that. But that's farther down the line when those plans start, the little plans after the general plan.
And remember too, when we presented to the city council, we even told them we had to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we should still leave it on there because we're not completed. It's not done yet. Next one, bike to work day, bike to school day. Obviously, is something that we still do every May. The Energizer on there, it's long term, something consistent that we've done. Update Gilroy Trails Master Plan, Bicycle Pedestrian Transportation Plan, and Parks Master Plan. Yeah, those are all long term. That's still something that we can help Gary.
Things that I'm requesting funding for next budget cycle.
Yeah.
At some point, if you'd like, I can go through the list of projects we've identified.
Yeah.
For funding for not only this year for the budget, but what we're going to do for the next year.
Yeah.
Budget as well.
So then, again, that's a chance for us to be the cheerleader for Public Works and get up there and talk about how we do need the funding for that, and
advocating for Gary.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Highway 152. This is the adding bicycle and pedestrian facilities when it's repaved. That's accomplished. I think we pretty much have done that one, so I can take that one off. I don't see us reversing backwards, and it's going to go back to what it was today. Work closer with Parks and Rec Department. Promote more trails and trail running at Christmas Hill Park. We did an event in October for that. Promote a trail building day. We have not done anything like that, but that would be pretty cool. Outreach to people walking and biking to city parks and include material for Spanish-speaking residents for outreach.
I like this one.
Yeah, I like it too. And this should tie in right into one of the budget requests, our top one for wayfinding signage.
I would say it can add wayfinding to it, right? Say wayfinding, right? And I think you add wayfinding to it, and it's perfect. It's right. Not only creating trails at Christmas Hill Park, but adding.
Yeah, we got that when we were working on the budget item.
Yep. So should we just leave that as is, or should I write in there wayfinding signage and just leave it? What do you guys think?
It would be lovely to advocate for other parts of the community that don't speak English. I think that'd be fantastic. Could we leave that?
Yeah, I can leave the whole thing as it is.
Leave it as it is.
I can leave it as it is.
Just here, where there's county health was doing some projects like this, and they tend to hold 1 or 2 out of their several countywide events focusing on Gilroy, getting people to,
last year, right?
yeah,
The Let's All Go to the Park series.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, San Ysidro did it in conjunction with their party in the park that they already have.
Right. And they always make sure to, reach out to Spanish speakers, and they even had a Spanish speaking interpreter at the Christmas Hill event.
And we'll hand out helmets at that event too. That was pretty fun. Me and Sean did.
Yeah.
You guys are doing too much.
Also, that made me realize we've been talking about when the trail near San Ysidro Park opens up.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about maybe trying to do an event there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ronan. Yeah, definitely.
So that would be a specific thing related to this.
Ties into the South Valley Middle School too. If we get
Mm-hmm.
specialized writing for focus group.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We got to figure a safe way to do it.
Okay, so I'll leave
Yes.
that one as is.
Yeah, please.
Work with any organization or group that hosts a bicycle or pedestrian event in Gilroy. That's just like a general message to anybody that reads this. Call us. We want to
We're
help,
over there.
right? It's sort of like an insert. That's like a promo. So we'll leave that one. Be the conduit for community concerns about bicycle and pedestrian facilities. I think we do a pretty good job of that. Work with Public Works and city engineering in addressing concerns. Address the safety issues this is something that Chad added last year. Safety issues at Orchard and 10th Street crossing by Gilroy High School, and figuring out a solution that can make that intersection safer. Yeah, what do you want to do on that, Chad? Yeah.
So let me at this point, you guys keep talking about projects I was putting funding. Let me just go through the list.
You must have been listening to us for the last year.
Multitasking.
So there's a 2-year budget cycle, and this year we're focusing on the line item budget, the operating budget. Next year we're going to concentrate on the CIP budget. So it's an alternating budget. Every other year you shift back and forth, operating, CIP, operating, CIP. It's the capital improvement projects. Capital improvement program. So we made some requests for our operating budget. We had to provide justifications for that. That's going through the review process right now. We also put together a list of projects and funding requests for specific projects that we didn't want to wait 2 years down the line, so for the next budget cycle. And we thought we could deliver this next fiscal year, July 1st of 19 to July 1st of 20, if we got it. So those projects that we submitted that have bike-related facilities, 10th Street Bridge funding for that. And of course, there's a long way to go on that one, but that has bike facilities on it. Feel pretty confident we're going to be able to get grant funding for that. So we'd like to move that one forward. The annual paving maintenance, which again will include bike facilities when we can. Annual citywide curb ramp project. It's a bulk amount of money we get each year where we can identify pedestrian needs and curb ramp installations along high pedestrian areas and around schools, parks, those sorts of things. Huddlemar Parkway project, which includes bike facilities. Church and 7th Street parking lot doesn't. Citywide regulatory sign replacement. So there's a bike facility signs we installed. Sidewalk condition assessment. So we're asking for funding to do a sidewalk review of trip hazards, curb ramps that are inadequate, so that we can then in future years ask for funding for those. Downtown parking management plan, which would include downtown parking for bicycles, Eagleberry parking lot. We can look at the back and ankle parking adjacent to that, which would improvements. One-stop development center, which is important to everybody. RRFB at 10th and Orchard, so have asked for specific funding for that this next year. Safe routes to schools improvements, again, approximately $50,000 request for staff time and construction costs to do curb ramps, crosswalks, RFB, some minor improvements on an as-needed basis. Traffic calming. The council's already said they're going to commit $150,000 annually to traffic calming. Once we bring the policy forward, that'll be going forward in April and May. And then updating the city's traffic circulation master plan. So those are the list of things that we wanted to do this year. I ended up identifying, I think, 53 or 54 overall projects, and about, I think the number was in the high 30s programs that I want to ask for funding for next year to update. And so there's a lot of other improvements there as well. And maybe as we get closer to that, I can bring back down and talk more about those. But that's updating all of our master plans, including the Bicyclist master plan, the Trails master plan, Parks master plan, storm sanitary, all of our master plans.
So what's involved with updating them? Are you talking about just creating a new map or PDF, or are you talking about actually getting together and looking at
what it is? A lot of them, like the storm sanitary master plan, would be hiring somebody to analyze our current model, look at development, let's see what's going on, where the needs are, and come up with a plan. The Viking head master plan would be looking at what we accomplished, what we've done, creating a current map, and then doing a lot of community outreach and identifying through the community and through staff high priority projects and high priority links that are missing, identifying those can be actually put in, and putting in a new map as proposed improvements. And then what I did last time I did a couple bike plans was the bike plan and the update was go up with a list of high priority projects that we actually chartered, got to a certain level of preliminary design where we had some kind of schematic drawings, not shovel ready by any means, certainly at a point where they would impress folks who were applying for grants. And we get a lot of few of them funded through grants, having that level of detail.
One step closer.
So these list of projects that you have that overlap with our interests, could we have visibility into that outside of these meetings, or is that considered confidential?
It's a work in progress that we're doing right now. If you have ideas or concepts, please let me know, and I continue to add things. And as a lot of them are, like you saw, a result of hearing issues that are coming up.
And Patrick, you'll be able to see them when they come out in the budget process.
Okay,
during the city council meetings.
I could see sort of the work in progress as it goes, maybe like a shared document, so we always knew what was coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe.
Okay. Go ahead and commit to it.
Let me think about that one.
Okay.
Because this is something, again, this is just, us brainstorming.
Oh, for sure.
I don't want to have anything out there that we're committing to at this point before we get out there and publish it. But it's something I think we will be able to bring to you guys as a formal body at some point, and certainly have a discussion about it.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
I'm not comfortable really sharing work in progress documents. Yeah. But just know that we're working.
And one of the items that we got added into our ordinance that like the Parks and Rec Commission does and the Planning Commission does. The Planning Commission usually just makes sure it's consistent with the general plan, the language, the CIP projects. But the CIP projects that have to do with bike and ped facilities will come through us. And then the same thing with the Parks and Rec, they'll get to see the CIP. And that's usually, like he's saying, that's the final. This is what's going to move on in next month in May or whatever to the city council. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like us be able to see that list and be able to, how can we help you? How can we be advocates for this?
Exactly.
And this knowing that this next month is going to the council. So in that way, when they get in front of council and it's has something to do with a bike ped or Parks and Rec or whatever, they can say, well, who how do you know that this is the priority in the community? How do you know that they want this as opposed to this? Well, they've been through the Bike and Ped Commission and they recommend these that we're doing, and these are the reasons why. And then you get up and public comment right after that and you speak it. It kind of like doubles down. It's like, this is what, because the public will be invited to come to our meetings to be able to look at it and provide input.
It's good feedback.
Yes, that's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
So I know we were talking about some crosswalks last month, and Gary explained a little bit about there's processes they go through to data collection criteria. That they have that for other situations too, besides the crosswalks. And then they put together this traffic calming policy that's probably going to get passed through soon by city council to go through an extensive data collection process.
You bring up a good point.
Yeah.
Do I have access to the criteria you use for most decisions, your traffic calming or putting in your curb or etc.? Do I have access to that?
Traffic calming policy document will be a public document once it's approved by council, and that is a clear policy and procedures.
Okay. How about other steps that you would take to, for instance, put in a crosswalk? Would I have access to the exact measurements that you take and operations that need to be put into place before something is improved and built?
What are you looking for specifically?
I'm just looking for how the city makes determinations on improving infrastructure. what are the steps that are taken for most of the improvements that would overlap with our commission. And I have an interest in pedestrian matters.
Sure.
I'd like to focus on that this year. So I'd like to get as much visibility into what you see and how the process works.
If through the chair, if you guys are interested, I can certainly make a presentation about that.
Yeah.
That, not knowing where this is going.
Oh,
I'm
of course,
happy
of course,
to do separate
of course.
days if you want to just schedule some
I'd love
time.
to.
Chat about that.
Sure.
Specific for the traffic calming policy, that there's a draft already available to look at.
There is a draft
Yeah.
bill. It's been
Yeah.
to the commission, or been to the council.
Okay.
I can change a couple of those recent.
I appreciate it.
Next one is get Gilroy ranked in the League of American Bicyclists as a bicycle-friendly community, and that was accomplished. That's for 4 years.
Thank you. A couple of people in this council, right, who like a 500-page application.
It was pretty long. And I still want to turf off the walk friendly. If anybody wants to do that, that's due in June. That's something that Gary wants us to get done. I can send you the link.
Yes.
And it's nice because the applications are normally shared. So like there's the ability for multiple people to be able to provide input before it's sent away.
Okay.
To help out. So actually, since that wasn't on here, maybe we should write that. Take the bicycle thing away and add the walk. Should we do that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
All on it.
All right.
We're there.
Hmm?
I'll let you finish writing first.
Are you doing that?
It's been overlapping our
What's up?
Were there key things from the League of American Bicyclists process that that are not on our goals that you would like on our goals to be working towards for the future?
This is a hard one because I know it's something that we can't control, but it's Vision Zero. I know that a lot of when you get that, if you have one of those documents, even for grants, you get bumped up. That was one thing. They actually had a pretty good hard section on Vision Zero in there. I'm trying to remember on our report card. Did I add I don't think I put a report card in here.
It's not the last.
It was in the last.
It was
meeting.
last month.
I should find that real quick. Because there was there was items on the bottom on how to get silver.
One thing that you've mentioned
Right.
was to me was providing education to the public
Oh, I'm sorry.
besides just schools.
Yeah,
And that's if there were a if the budget item for a coordinator gets approved, that could fall under that person.
now I know what
Yes.
you're talking about. So yeah, it was that actually came up in the survey results. So there's two big things that came up in the survey results, and one of them we might be able to add on here too. Is one was the availability of education, just like you mentioned, adult, and we do the children mainly at schools, but adult education, whether it's having an LCI instructor go over, okay, this is how you do your air brakes and chain, but have it at a public place. Less talking, more action, showing like how to do it. And they talked a lot about that in actually the Measure B encouragement and stuff, that
More hands-on.
and less, not that billboards aren't effective, but what's really effective is like me talking with you.
Like a workshop, perhaps at that. It's a pump station that's over by the library, right?
Yeah.
Host a workshop there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's an event that I don't think we've scheduled it officially yet, but it's probably like April or May that's happening at the library that Zach and I and others would be welcome. We're talking about attending to support, and police department was talking about doing some activities there too, like bike rodeo activities.
Mhm.
And someone from public health, I don't know if she'll be there, but I also am an LCI, and I was thinking I might try to do, as long as it's fitting with what else is going on, I might try to do something. But we don't have it all planned out yet.
And another one was incorporating bicycle parking at older commercial places. So like those that were built back in like maybe even pre-2000, maybe like in the 90s. So Nob Hill is a good example of what it was before, was 0 bicycle parking, and now they have 16 spots. So, but it's moving on to other ones like the ones where Safeway is and Big 5. There's no bicycle parking in that entire area. So in the new projects, it's usually incorporated, but it's going to the older ones and asking them to that just kept coming up on the survey. It's like add bike parking at old commercial spots. So it makes sense.
It's true. You're not going to patronize a business if you can't leave your bike in an effective spot.
Yeah.
It's just obvious.
Yeah. A couple of things that are on this key steps to silver. So adopt a comprehensive road safety plan or Vision 0. A new bicycle master plan or updating the 2002 bike plan. So it sounds like that's already being asked for next year. Appoint a staff member as a bike and ped coordinator or create a new full-time, part-time position. That's being requested. Ensure that your community follows a bicycle facility selection criteria that increases separation and protection of bicyclists based on levels of motor vehicle speed and volume. That's kind of a mouthful, but it sounds like something that whether does that have something to do with traffic calming maybe or something?
Yeah, it's more outreach and education.
Yeah.
What does it take to get gold?
Gold?
It's already quite a high bar.
Yeah, there's platinum too. There's only like 2 cities in the nation that have that.
Island cities?
Portland and Portland.
It's not Oakland or Oakland Gold. Oakland has a gold.
Really?
Yeah.
It would be national.
Mm-hmm.
Some places, every time you go to a bike summit, you see a presentation from, and it's like Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle might be.
Yeah. Okay, so we went through all of them. The ones we'll add on here is the incentives for walking and or biking, and I'll use the language from here so we all understand on the document that it came from here. Maybe working on a joint safe routes to school resolution joint between GUSD and the city. Maybe having that conversation. I'll put the water access policy on here since it is something that will get done. Smoke-free parks, trails, and recreation areas. I'll put that on here as long-term because it's something that we want to try to help. We can help Parks and Rec with that. And then the healthy language in the general plan, I'll put that on here too.
Incentivize the public, maybe?
Which part?
Right there.
This one?
Yeah.
So we achieved that. Incentives for use of public transit and ride sharing. How we achieve that, I don't know. I could ask the guy specifically.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I could ask him specifically on what we've done to get that. I can ask. And any of these in here, all you got to do is ask him, and he'll give you another city that did it. And that's why I gave you guys that grid here too, so you can see what other cities have already done it. And sometimes it's simple as just following the policy. And like the water access one, we already did it anyways. We just didn't write that we did it. So.
Did you brush over the NACO policy that's got been endorsed or endorsed the NACO design?
I did not, but can you talk about that?
So that's something.
Do we already do that?
We are. I mean, we're looking at all options anytime we do bike facilities,
Mm-hmm.
and the more and more we're doing these green bike lanes,
Mm-hmm.
these transitions, the design criteria we're looking to is NACO.
Is NACO. That's the book you showed me that was in your
So I think that's something we're doing. That's something we can at some point figure out how to adopt or endorse. So that's a good one.
Now, how would you, if you're already looking at it and everybody around you is already reviewing it,
So
do you have to have a document that says, no, we,
I don't know, but I would look at your grid.
Yeah,
Some of those are the cities.
okay, I'll get it for you.
Figure out how they do that.
All right, I'll get it for you. I'll figure out how they did that. Do you guys see anything else on here that we want to add? And then we need to figure out, I know we wanted to put the pilot project on the top or in the like we could have 1 through 4 or whatever. because we basically took off 3 of these. We only have Safe Routes to School on there, and we have BMX track in Gilroy, and then we have the pilot. Are there 2 other ones we want to keep in there, or just leave those 3? This, yeah, I mean, we can come back to this at any point if there's time. What my plan was to rewrite it and then bring it back in the consent calendar next month. But if we looking at it, if you feel like, hey, you know what, let's pull it out and talk about it even more, or dial something in different, we can do that throughout the year. But the idea was to get this done and basically start working off the work plan as to keep focus on something.
Sure.
But it doesn't mean that you can't bring this back and look at it, another time if something else comes up. But I personally, having gone through that other budget cycle process, there's a lot of stuff that's happening like right now that's really gonna take up your time. Like right now is the best time to be an advocate, to be able to help these projects get through the city. Timing. And so, yeah, I mean, there's other things that we can do or whatever, but a lot of those top 3 things right there are going to be coming back through. And then I honestly think that the rest of the time until the summer's over is really advocating and trying to do what we can to help out with that budget.
Okay.
And to see the stuff that we've asked for get through there.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you agree?
So yeah, we started making this list of goals at the beginning of the year each year, but now we're giving budget input, and that has a specific timing. And so now our goals need to be tied to that as closely as possible.
So just 3.
Just 3.
So right now I'm going to come back with 3: Safe Routes to School, the dirt pump track, and the pilot project for back and angle parking, and the rest will just be still on there. Sound good?
One thing, it's not a top 3 thing, but before we're done talking about this, is wanted to mention that I've been participating, and you're in on some emails on working with Gilroy Downtown Business Association on an open streets event for 2020. Yeah. So this year, what our goal is kind of is just assist with the planning of that. But the event itself is planned to be a 2020 event, and we're just in the beginning stages of planning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should we write that on it?
Revisit.
We could put on just on the general list somewhere of goals is to participate and assist with planning an open streets event to be held in 2020.
Are there any possibilities? Could we participate in this year's Bonanza parade where we represent the BPC and invite people who perhaps want to walk
or make a float?
We did it last year. We led. It was me and Avery and a bunch of kids from Aroble and some other schools led the parade.
But you were representing the commission?
Yeah. They reached out. The leadership Gilroy reached out to us to be a part of it.
So yeah,
let me know if we're going to be a part of it this year.
Yeah, I hope it comes back.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's coming back, but the big thing that got the community really involved was they engaged all the schools in making those floats. But we also did try to get people doing a bike and walk parade.
If you don't want to walk with your float, come join us in the front of the parade, and we're on bikes.
But that was specific to Gilroy leadership class, right? So I'm not sure that they will continue doing that as an annual event.
Yeah, they were trying to get someone. Usually they try to get someone else to pick it back up.
Right.
Okay, so other parts, grants, as I find them, I try to update the links and stuff like that. So most of this stuff will be the same. If you see something that comes up throughout the year that you want to add to the list, just tell me and I'll add it. So we developed this list of projects basically because at the time we had a contract transportation engineer. So we kind of didn't know what projects were out there that had to do with bike and bed. And so that's how this ended up getting created. I don't know how to update it or whether we should update it or just leave it as is or cross off the ones that have already been done. I'll leave it up to you guys, but it was basically like the running list that you were trying to get.
Yeah.
That's what we were all trying to find too. Like, how can we advocate for some things? Like, what do we even know? And so I'd pull them out of council meetings where it was like, okay, the developer's going to pay for this and the city's going to match 20% and water district's going to do another 20. So we were able to kind of look at and follow the progress of how long something would take to get done.
In terms of getting visibility on this, Gary, if I wanted to make websites and get visibility into extremely long-term goals like these, it couldn't be connected to this commission at all, right?
The once website for the BPAC is the city BPAC website. They're not separate websites.
Would it be possible to add links to external websites even if they're vetted through?
To provide links to external
links
websites.
on the website that the city owns, and they'll go to simple websites that describe the project. No buy-in from the city or the commission. Just describe it.
I can't tell you if they
Please.
I think I'd like to understand more about what
I would love to.
So I'll go through some of these because some of these have been done.
Yeah,
And I'll take them
I
on.
wanted to point out to Patrick when I was talking about getting on a county list for that bridge to Gilroy Gardens. A lot of these projects are from that list. So these are projects that are already, multiple agencies already are aware of some of these. It just takes time to actually get them to happen.
Of course, that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's
And
just no
they're-
one's really aware of it.
And
Yeah.
but the the bridge we're talking about isn't even on the list for multiple agencies to be working on.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not on the radar.
Yeah.
Most people have no idea what many of these cities do,
Mhm.
what their backlog is, and how things can be improved, what
Mhm.
processes are in place to improve.
hmm
So if we had more visibility and we could show that we are aware of them and we could seek input on that, I think that'd be nice.
I agree. All right. So does anybody have anything else they want to add on that? Any members from the public that wish to comment? See none. So I'll bring this. I'll craft it up and I'll bring it back and put it on our consent calendar. And like I said, if there's something that you notice in there that seems different or you want to change or the wording's wrong or something, that's fine. It's still something that we're working on. It just means that it'll take another 30 days to put it through there, but it doesn't mean you can't continue to work on it. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Where was that? All right, next up. Last item, addressing trash bins placed in bike lanes. So this was brought to us last month by a group of teachers that use Church Street to go to Gilroy High. And what they've noticed is on Wednesdays that there's a lot of, not every single place, because I've ridden my bike along there too, not every single residence puts their containers in the bike lane, but some do. Some leave them on curbside. That's what Recology wants you to do, is leave them on curbside. In some areas, you can make the argument that it's because there's so many cars parked and there's no curb space, but that's not always necessarily true. When I've been riding down just on Church, this would be citywide, but just on Church, I've seen plenty of places where there are. I've seen incidences where the cars have taken off and they haven't put in the cans back on curbside. And I've seen some where the Recology could have had the option to put the can back on curbside even though it was there. We're not the only city that's ever gone through anything like this. The examples that I wrote up in here all came from Los Angeles DOT. This is Don't Trash Your Bike Lane is like a visual that they actually had. They own their own sanitary company too, so they had them on side of the trucks. It was something they promoted on social media, email, and talked a lot about it. It kind of makes sense. I like it. Don't trash the bike lane, because it can mean multiple things besides just the physical trash can on there. I think it's been many years since there's been any education on not putting trash receptacles in bike lanes.
Is it talked about?
No, I've never seen it talk about.
Never have.
and if you go to their Recology's website, it just plainly says put them curbside. If you can't put them curbside because you don't have any curbs, that's fine, but it goes curbside. It's a direct California Vehicle Code violation to block it as well.
Have we reached out to Recology to partner
Not yet.
on
This
any
is
efforts?
not yet. But what I was thinking is that a simple letter from us that I could send to them that basically says that
Send it.
that it feels like it's been a long time since we've had any education. Is this, you know, with everything being sent out, your bills by email, you know, a simple PDF that, you know, maybe we can help create, and it would go to, you know, it would go out to the customers from Recology of just an education.
I'll put that bumper sticker on my car too.
And it's, you know, it's something that hopefully maybe we could do with our water bills, since our water bill is sent by PDF. You know, and the city as well can, you know, try to help and do that. If you have consistent people that those messages haven't met, what they did is they actually created little like stickers and they just put them on the trash can in both languages. I would say you would need them in English and Spanish. Yeah. Okay. I like the visual more than the verbiage, because people sometimes they're like, whatever, pay my bill. I don't have to look at it.
You don't have that. You have it. It's one language. You don't. You know, it translates in every language. Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You almost
not-
don't need
You don't. Need,
You kind of
you don't
get
need
it.
picture.
Yeah.
speaks 1,000 words.
So this is just a time for us to address something that a citizen wanted. It's something that I feel that the education is probably not there. Maybe it is the time to do a little public education. I don't see anybody like fighting back against this or anything like that. So it's just up to you. What do you guys want to do? I could draft a letter.
We can start there.
Mhm.
Draft a letter and
Mhm.
you know, pick their brain too. Like, you know, what would be your recommendation to, you know, outreach to your customers, because that's their customer base, right?
Yeah.
Tie this into safety. Can
Mhm.
overlap into something else we're responsible for.
Mhm.
Safe route to school would not have that in it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about that, safe routes to school and commuters and that kind of stuff.
And if they do decide to partner up and have like a campaign or whatever, it'd be nice to recognize them, reward them for it. You know?
I agree.
If it comes through. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. Cool. All right, so that was it. It was just basically a discussion. I'll bring back a letter, you know, that we can draft. I'll try to mirror kind of what LA DOT did, and Silicon Valley Bike Coalition also told me their advocacy person told me that they've been trying to have talks with San Jose as well with Recology. So I'm going to try to get in more depth with that and figure it's a different Recology division, but to see what their responses have been. I'm waiting to hear back from that.
Like it.
Cool. All right. Any members from the public? Jack.
My name is Jack Howe. I'm a one-time resident of Gilroy. Unfortunately, that's screen now. This one came up and it hit me well.
Mm-hmm.
Because, first of all, trash has to be picked up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any choice as a homeowner of where trash is going to be picked up. Ecology says it's going to be in front of my house. Yeah, they say they want those cans, wheels to the curb, but I don't have any control over the neighbors, their cars are parked.
Mm-hmm.
Walking down here tonight, there's cans right next to their cars. I wouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
The drivers are amazing picking up those cans, but put a can right in front of them. No. Alongside it. No. But you don't have a choice. It's going to be picked up. And if my choice is putting that can in a bike lane versus the traffic lane, it's going to go in the bike lane.
Mm-hmm.
Along 10th Street, I was just walking past there the other day on trash day. There's stretches of 10th Street where it's sidewalk, curb, bike lane traffic. There's only one place for those cans to go. It's in the bike lane. Now, if we want to do a campaign, raise awareness that, you know, if you can avoid it, don't block the bike lane.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to, bring them in as soon as you can.
Yeah.
But
Or Recology's arm can
Extend for.
put him back in.
well, so they're good at picking them up.
That's
They tend to roll all over the place, which is why they want to set them back against the curb. But if there's cars blocking that curb, you don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you can pick it up.
I agree.
You don't want it out in the traffic lane. That's worse than blocking the bike lane.
Sort
On
of.
some of our-
Depends on what your
some
means
of
of
our
getting to
narrower
the. Yeah.
streets, trash day is trying to drive down some of the streets is
Mm-hmm.
anyway. I wouldn't turn so much on the illegality of blocking the bike lane as much as be aware of
Who uses it?
what you're doing, what you're blocking, and please bring those kids in.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, Jack, actually, when Zach brought this up last month, I had the exact, because I live in a street too where I'm a cul-de-sac, and my trash cans have to go in the street. I mean, when I saw the car, and but when Zach said, you know, just to educate, I said, you know what, that I'm all for. You know, just let people be aware that there's cyclists who come down these streets, and if we're trying to promote a walkable, rideable city, just so people are starting to be aware of, you know, if you can start getting, you know, a couple of people start pulling their stuff back sooner or whatever, as opposed to trying to, like, you know, enforce some law on them, but just try to, because you're right, there's a lot of places where it's very challenged to get there.
Yeah.
Rubbing you wrong.
Was it the photo or what was written? Was written
And it does say that
It's
illegal in the
but-
sites of vehicle code.
that part?
But
That
I'm
part.
aware, I don't remember what community it is, but I'm aware of a community somewhere in our region where they dealt with this, and it was more of a educate people that do your best to not block the bike lane and bring it in as soon as you can on trash day.
I don't care if it's
Yeah.
illegal.
Awesome.
I
Sure.
don't place it out where-
Yeah.
And it's probably illegal to put it in the street with short traffic too, right? I mean, so yeah, gotta wait till.
They have to be picked up.
That's
But,
probably
yeah,
on here somewhere.
But, again, but I think it's a valid point to at least get people to realize, be cognizant that there's people coming down that bike lane there. So
I'm all for pursuing this. I agree with Jack that emphasizing the illegality is something that's going to put people's hackles up. I've been injured before trying to swerve around trash cans. It's a real issue. And the bike lane's a traffic lane too. We want to make it possible for people to use it. But I do like the idea of emphasizing bringing it back in. I also see where it's very hard. But I don't think my neighbors even know.
Mm-hmm.
I put my can in the curb and somebody comes and pulls it out.
they'll put it away for you.
So, from my experience, I moved here like 3 years ago, and I live on 10th Street. And all of my neighbors, their can is like right against the bike lane, not on the curb, on the right against the bike lane. And I looked, and all of the trash cans were like that. Well, I guess this is how they want it. This is the preferred method of ecology for it to not to be on the curb. I come from San Jose. In San Jose, I don't know, it was kind of like natural. We knew it was against the curb. But here, everybody was putting it away from the curb. I thought that's how it should go.
Those are the people I'd like to tap into, just to say, you know, if you have room, like you can put it back here. Don't put it out there, because these are the people that use it.
I assumed because everybody else was doing it, that was the right way, away from the curb.
Were the cars behind it when they put the cans out?
No,
It was a mix.
in some. Yeah.
It was a mix, you know.
Because 10th Street's a good example. You talked about,
Yeah, that's-
you pull out, double park, get out of your car, pull the cans back. 10th Street's not a good place to do that.
But I think we can still. I think there's a lot of people who just do it because it's a future habit. They see other people doing it. They think that's what the people want. That's what they want me to do. I mean, I got the little love gram from them before that my trash cans are too close together. So you know, and you see other people do it, so you think you're trying to help them out as well. But I think it benefits the city if we can just say, you know, do your best. You know, try to help us make this a bike friendly city. try to get them out and back as soon as possible. Try your best to keep them out of the bike lane. If you do leave, hopefully they can maybe move them back, sort of things. But you can't make it. It's very hard to make it work. So we have hovering, floating garbage cans. It's coming.
We'll get in trouble for not pulling down our garbage can.
So should we be so bold then maybe to say is, help Bike Pedestrian Commission keep Gilroy a bike-friendly community, and please, respect your trash cans and that.
Courteous, whether it's illegal.
Yeah, exactly. Just say it to help, and then put we meet every fourth time, every Tuesday, fourth Tuesday every month, and we also note when we meet, and they can come tell us. Maybe they have some ideas for some things too. But we get two things: we help them, educate them on pulling it back, and we give them. We start getting more people to fill up all the chairs.
And at our Facebook page too, you can easily discuss it there.
Yeah.
Anybody else from the public? Just comment.
Trying to save them to school, so like a picture of a kid like rushing over garbage cans, right? Happens to the triangle mom.
Yeah. All right. So I'll bring that back to you guys. Next up, correspondence. Nothing really in here anywhere specific to talk about or whatnot. These are basically just informational items. Oral reports by commission members. Sean, you want to go first?
I believe everything that I would talk about has already been covered in some way. Anyone else?
Commissioner Patrick Club. Is that how you say the last name?
It's Flotz.
Flotz.
It's totally fine. I'm
Flotz.
used to being incorrect. It's not going to hurt me.
What you
So
got?
I have two projects I want to be involved with this year. One is the Safe Routes to Schools.
Mhm.
I'm going to be attending the first, well, not the meeting, but the next meeting, March 7th, 9:30 to 12:30. That's the Wheeler Community Center. I want to also bring attention to the pamphlet that was made that demonstrated the most effective way to get to a school by using predetermined safe routes. I'd like to look into seeing how that works and if we can expand that in partnership with the school district. I want to get some data on the community support for the Safe Routes to School and see if we can keep the program going. So that's the thing I'll definitely want to collaborate with you, my fine gentlemen. I also want to be a part of something I'm going to call the Safer Crosswalks for Gilroy program. It's be a pedestrian-focused aspect of this committee. I will own and drive the initiatives for it. I want to create a 3-person Citizens for Safe Crosswalks subcommittee from members of the community sourced and vetted by our committee. Section 6, number 1 and 2 of our bylaws says we can do this. The goals would be to empower citizens to collect data themselves under city-approved guidelines. Citizens will be asked to gather information about intent to use a crosswalk if it was determined a crosswalk would be beneficial, but there's nothing to count. Data will be collected and formally presented near the end of our meetings, maybe 4 times a year. I would like to use targeted social media surveys with Facebook advertising to build both awareness and preliminary data sets around community pedestrian safety needs. Subcommittee would provide specific survey material to us when requested. And I would like to request a budget for data gathering on Facebook or seek funding through creative means that are similar to the bicycle rack program downtown.
I think Mr. Jack Howe needs to get in touch with him. Get Jack's a frequent walker of the downtown like you.
Right.
Yeah.
So that'll obviously be discussed in another time. It's not in this meeting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, wait meetings.
Cool.
That's me.
All right. Lionel?
I have nothing to share.
I just want to thank everybody for coming because we've had four more people than we normally have out in the audience. So, and again, I guess reiterate too is yesterday was really special. I think having the everybody there for that assembly at Solarsano. Hopefully, Brownell and South Valley as well can get into the grant program, and we can have every one of our middle schools in this program. I think that helps this committee, this commission significantly. And so also I think something I'm gonna look into is figuring out a route possibly for Brownell, and for Brownell will be a challenge for sure. I think South Valley possibly, if that Ronan channel path opens up, there might be a way to get them there, and that's maybe something where we could target some bike striping or whatever to get them there, sort of thing. But hey, we need to get the program.
Construction starting back up April 15th.
They're doing some stuff near there, and I've talked with Laurent Dan about it.
Okay. Oh, excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. So you're already probably looking at it. That's something I think
Yes.
we should be ready to go. Because I know it was one thing that the specialized Riding for Focus program said is, you know, this is great, but we really need to make field trips, weekly field trips for these kids to get out and ride their bikes other places. And I think it's awesome. I know my wife had mentioned my son when he was in science. One of the science teachers at Solorzano actually used to have field trips where they used to walk down to the creek and do science, you know, for that. So I don't see why there's any difference for having a PE class to do something similar. I think the hardest part is probably if people don't fill out the permission slips. What do you do with those kids? But I think maybe that's where we come in. We go really work with those parents to get them to sign those slips.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
Yeah, maybe like one for the year or one for the semester or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I agree. So I've updated this a couple different times, but Hecker Pass highway between Watsonville Road and Santa Teresa, the roadside shoulder has slowly been eroding into the roadway itself and not leaving a nice shoulder, you know, where cars can even go around, you know, and give you the 3 foot. Myself, I know Chad has filled out a Caltrans service request. County Weed Abatement filled out a service request, and Gilroy Fire Department, the marshal's office also filled one out. So I've been trying to play catch up with Sergio Ruiz, who's the bike ped chief, branch chief from Caltrans, about those service requests, because that's something they specifically said in their outreach, is that if you have a ticket, you know, that's already in the system, to work off that and get updates from it. So we all turned those in back August. I just got an update 2 days ago that it is on Caltrans work, that they are going to start clearing back that roadside. There's a lot of trees that are over there too that are dead and dying and falling over. Those shoulders should widen for cyclists. And he was saying that should start in March, and then it shouldn't take more than into April for them to do that.
And I think they already have the shoulders there. It's just being covered by something.
Yeah, it's slowly gone away. I attended a webinar on shared mobility playbook, and I know that staff did that as well. So that was pretty eye-opening to see what works with everything to do with shared mobility, mainly e-scooters and programs that's worked. So that was nice. I also attended Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition. They started doing their bike summit planning meetings. So I participated in that since I was a speaker last year. They're currently taking proposals online if there's any topics or people or anything, or if you yourself want to present. They have that opportunity on there. Bike to Work Day, that planning has already started. I think it's like 80 days away until May 9th. So next month I'll bring it back, and so we can start. Yeah, so we can start talking about how we're going to go about doing that again, and who wants to staff it. I might not be able to make it this year because I'm on duty, but I'm trying to get the day off. But I'll give you guys some more information on that. VTA is also finalizing its public comment period for their bus service, and there are cuts that are being planned for Gilroy. So mainly for the express buses, but I think it's up until February 28th that you can leave public comment for that. Also at last week's council meeting, I heard comments when they were talking about downtown parking, and it was talking about adding parallel parking to portions of Eagleberry Street that aren't parallel already. It's the ones where the bike lanes are, specifically to where between like 7th or 6th and 5th. It's a class 2 striped bike lane already, and I just sincerely hope that staff is not planning on removing a facility. This was a comment that was made by a member of the public, and it was a question asked by one of the council members. So, you know, Eagleberry is pretty much the only access to downtown or users to go around downtown It's one part of it is already a route, and the other part is already a bike lane. If you were to eliminate that section, you would essentially be causing like a break in the network from 1st to 10th. So it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the back-end angle parking. That we would be more into back-end angle parking as a solution rather than creating a bigger problem by actually getting parallel parking added and having people blindly park back to that. So hopefully that's not in the plans. Another meeting that I attended was a public hearing at the Planning Commission last month. It was for a children's daycare center that was being put on Wren. And I initially showed up to show some support for some bicycle parking because I didn't see any plans for bicycle parking inside the staff report. It was a lot about parking and stuff like that, but nothing about that. And this project didn't come through our commission either. And I was happy to hear that eventually when staff brought up that there was bike parking, and then the commissioners asked, when the pastor got up, like, where's the parking? And he said, it's actually underneath all of our stairwells. And so that's what he said that was there. He then asked me, I got up and spoke, sort of the same thing, how we support projects that do this or whatever, but at the same time, it'd be nice to see it that it's written in the staff report. And at the same time, that's something that in past practice, our commission has been a part of discussions, whether it's a new development or an old development or a CUP. It's something that, that we can provide value to. We have in the past, and I ended up speaking with the pastor after, and he actually thanked me for saying that. And they do have plans. They want to add bicycle parking, and he had wished that he could have been with us. So I talked to him over email, and the same way that I went to the property manager at Nob Hill, I'm going to reach out and talk to him and talk to him about what's the practice that other people are doing in the city, and if there's anything we can do to to help them out, or a vendor or whatever. But I really hope that as those the TAC meetings happen, that you can just remember that not only does it, just because it doesn't have anything to do with the existing pedestrian and bike trail system, but that if it has anything to do, we want to be advocates for bicycle parking as well. And I don't think, this one spent, let's see, the plans were presented in September 7th, and it just got up to them last month. So that was one of the questions that when we were redoing our ordinance, is whether or not, if we still continue to see developments, whether we would be the one to slow the process down. And from what I've seen in the last 2 years being on this commission, there's no way that we would slow anything down. I think that we can provide value. I think we can represent the public and what we would want to see. And I think that most people that we've interacted with, developers, anybody else, has gotten positive feedback from this and a good working relationship. Sure. We're not the type of commission that says, no, you must have this and you must have this. It's never been like that.
It's good to have that touch with the community and actually hear what the guidelines could be and what the asks are. Otherwise, you're just shooting in the dark. It's like 4 bicycle phrases good enough. Who knows?
Yeah. Yep. So that's it.
Awesome.
That's all I have. Next up is staff comments.
So I'll respond to that last discussion about the process. And in fact, as I was going through listening to the meetings tonight, I was going through some emails, and I had an email from one of the planners asking if the BPAC would be interested in reviewing the plans for Samana Bakery, which is going on right there at 10th and Monterey, just north of the Chevron up there. Brewery. I took a look at the plans, and they're putting in a brand new 10-foot sidewalk along the frontage. They're putting in bike facilities, parking. They're putting in bike racks and bike lockers. So I'm not sure what else the bike committee would have to offer for a project like that. I would be more interested from the BPAC to have a list of criteria we would like to see included on projects, and then leave it to staff, leave it to my staff to go ahead and review those and make sure those are included. I think that's a better use of time. We don't then have to have staff come and present. When it comes to a project where they're adding a significant piece the bike network or a new roadway system or something like that, absolutely we'll have it. And we've done that with Hyperpass before. There was a section of one of the new developments at Glen level where we had them come and present and share the new link that they were adding to the trails system out there. I think those are certainly things we still want to report, but all the typical Arkansas site projects that move through the system, I think you'd be burdened with 2 to 3 projects a month, and the meetings are already long enough without adding another, half an hour to 45-minute discussion for each of the projects. That's the planning commission, and that's their job. And my goal is to have clear conditions of approval which require these things, and to have my staff looking for these things through the plan reviews and not miss them. So I know they're not identified in the staff reports, but they're in the conditions of approval. We're requiring bicycle parking, we're requiring sidewalk and those types of things. So if there's any additional things you'd like to give me in terms of things that I can ask my staff to do, I'm more happy to have that level.
Well, I mean, I know it's been past practice for us to get those in front of us, and I personally would like to see them. I like to be involved, and I'd like, especially if they're reaching out, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see what's planned. I don't know what you guys feel.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I mean, what we don't want to do is have you come in here and we spend 2 hours just looking at plans and everything else and staff time and everything. But I think there should be. I think there's a solution. So I think there is a way that if they come in, they get noted what they're here, and then puts the onus on us to come see you if we want to look at it. If there's a way to make that happen, I don't think it necessarily has to be formal. I don't know, but I know you're pretty good at going down and seeing him, and so maybe as ones come in, you can say, here's this. It's on this street. It has these things currently. You have 2 days to come look at, or a week to come look at, or something like that. So if we look at it and say, hey, this is close to my house. Hey, I know this area really well. I ride my bike there. I want to make sure something is whatever. I think I would like to have an opportunity at least to come to look at it. If I don't come, it's not. But I don't want to slow the process down.
That's decent middle ground, just having access when you need, so you can confirm if something's there or not.
Yeah. So
think about how to get that sharing of information
back and forth.
Maybe we get you on TAC agendas, just get on the routing like you have for a school district.
Sure.
So that when there's projects relevant, they show up or they provide comments or ask questions. Maybe that might be.
I mean, one way in order to show support for, like right now, if you wouldn't want to go to the planning commission, or the city council when Simona Bakery is going to come through there and be like, yeah, you guys should go for it. You're like, did you see it? No, I haven't seen the plans. No, and I haven't talked to them. No, I don't know what they're using or what their current. You don't know because you never had the time, or you never had the time to actually. And I know that bike parking is not the sole focus of the TAC meeting, but in here it is. So maybe there's something that they can benefit from it. For instance, that there is no information, no sharing of exchange of anything at all, but yet this guy wanted it. A member of he lives in Gilroy. The applicant wanted it, wished he could have had it, but now we're going back. And it's in the span of September through January. No one's holding anybody's time up. And all of these meetings, all these new business items can happen right at the beginning of the meeting. So.
Because they've asked a number of times for me to provide, clear guidelines in terms of when the BPAC needs to be involved and when they don't. And I've stood pretty solid and said, hey, when there's a significant add to the system, the network, but just for a project that's just adding some bike racks, it's a good use of anybody's time to be spending time looking at something. I'm hearing different from you. Let me take that back.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see him. I'd like to be a part of it.
Yeah, but you have to have him in this meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it's a month. I just worry if you're only meeting monthly. You're right. You're potentially, if something can go faster, I don't want it to be delayed because I can get in front of BPAC.
I would put $1,000 on the table that it'll never be. Nothing's ever been rushed through that fast.
I agree with you. The way our city works, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
But I know there's every single city council member I've heard has been asking the city to change that. So that's all I'm trying to say is if I don't want us to speed up the permitting process.
Oh, yeah.
The city of Gilroy is very slow at permitting anything. So
well, that was their
I know what
This
it
has been
means,
brought up in front of council before. That was the objection, was that they didn't want anything that could slow it down. I'm not saying that that's realistically what ends up happening, but that was what they said.
Yeah, I think we should have an option to see everything that has a bike. I mean, that's part why we're here, right? We are the eyes of the
We're here to
council.
advocate for the
Yes,
public that's going to end up working there,
absolutely.
that's going to end up visiting there. They're going to be customers there. And if you never had that open discussion in the public process, then why are we here?
I mean, the other option might be too is possibly as they come in, we elect somebody or we goes and looks and says, this one's good, this one I would think should go to, somebody from our team kind of looks at it possibly. Because again, if it's just adding a bike rack, it's a gas station retrofit and add a bike rack. To come here, wait this time, be at 6 o'clock, they talk for 15 minutes, show it to us in comments, that's 15 minutes where maybe somebody went down or we elect somebody and they look at it and said, hey, there's a bike rack. You can give us feedback what happened, and we just and then the other 5 that don't have it have more improvements when they come here. I just don't know how many do you get in a month? How many projects are coming through?
We look at 2, 3 new projects a week, but some of them are just new single-family homes up in the hills. Some of them are bigger, like Signage Bakery. Some are bigger. We don't get those very often. We've got the Nissan dealership that's coming in, and that's a significant project. And that has got a quick timeline, and they want to be starting construction in April. So you are not going to see that one. It will hold up the process.
But again, I think that I think there's a way we can see them all. I think there's a way to do it that we definitely are not. And
there's a way to get you guys involved. I just have to figure out what the right way is to do that, because I don't think it makes sense to have 4 planning staff here every BPAC meeting and present. And you say it's a 10-minute conversation, maybe, because you got to open up the public.
Oh yeah.
There's comments and kind of bring it back, discuss, give feedback. It's happening.
And I totally get that, but at the same time, like Zach and I,
this comes down to
we are here. We
Exactly.
intentionally came.
The theme of tonight.
And it's public input for projects that are in our city where we live.
Sure.
And where our customers are going to be.
And that's why I wanted to be that, right? Because we could be advocates. We could see what's going on with it. We were telling them where the problems are. So.
And here, Gary, here's another way to look at it. And I'm not saying that inside that TAC meeting that nobody can visually think in their mind how I'm going to walk or bike to that project, but we can offer that. So if Signage Bakery comes here, a couple of days before, I would expect that all of us either go out there and experience the walkability to it, or how are you going to ride your bike to it, and then those things you can add in there, and those are the type of things that can go up and, that we can write up. We could say, hey, it's great that you're putting all this infrastructure in there, but have you ever ridden your bike there? It might be great or it might be horrible. So if you're going to put in bicycle lockers, that might be great, but what if the infrastructure is horrible on the outside of it?
Bicycle score.
Yeah. Yeah. What if it's in a place that you can't get to there by bicycle that's safe anyways? What's the point of having the bike locker? Or it could be a nice thing to say, hey, you've got a commercial property that's going in there. They're going to have 10 bike parking spaces, and they're going to have an incentive and program to use or whatever. But the one connectivity thing they need is 100 feet of bike lane, right? Then that's where we can advocate for that, and we could be like, hey, do you think that's more well worth the money putting it in here to activate these people that are riding and walking to work? I think it's that mindset that does not go through that TAC committee, because
the potential use cases, it's hard to get data on potential use.
Yeah. But it's something that's all we focus on. That we ride it, we walk it, every day, and we look at those projects just in that specific way.
So if we can identify some metrics that could be aligned with that could be used for us to vet these new developments. And Gary,
if you could develop those tools and get that vetting criteria to me, I want to get my staff thinking like you guys. I want to get my staff being, putting on their bike helmets when they're looking at these plans and think like a bicyclist.
Yeah.
And if not physically writing it, at least mentally writing it.
Thinking about
and
it.
Putting their thoughts into it, not only from a pedestrian standpoint, but from a bicycle standpoint, and to be doing the plan check with that in mind. I think that, we're not there yet. I'm not going to say we're there yet. I'm trying to get there. I'm so understaffed right now with development stuff that I can't even get regular reviews done in normal time. regardless of going the extra mile here, which I think this is the extra mile. I'd like to get it to the point where this is the standard practice. I feel confident that I can get there. And until we get there, maybe bring it to you guys.
So and we said this in the past, and when we first came on board, I think we both said this. If there's your staff, and that we're here to help your staff and be an extension of it in a sense, but we are the eyes and the feet of this. You have our numbers, you have our email addresses. Tell your staff they can call us at any time and say, "Can you look at this intersection?"
Have you ever ridden your bike to this location?
Yeah. And just call and say, "Yeah, I have or I have not. Here's your issue." And if not, within a couple days, I guarantee, if not a couple hours, we can give you pretty quick
so
feedback.
Instead of actually having planners make presentations to BPAC, what if they just reached out individually and said, sent an email to you guys or through Zach and said, "Hey, here's a set of plans. What do you guys think?"
That's the start of getting information. Yes.
Instead of having a formal presentation, waiting to the third or the fourth Tuesday.
Can we try that? Start now. I mean, we can start that now.
Let's go and tell Miguel to shoot you a set of plans.
All right.
Right now.
Okay. Why don't we start that and see how it goes?
That seems like a good ground.
Because then we can start seeing it, and I think then you're like, "Hey, this one."
Mhm.
Let everybody know we're
Mhm.
talk about this at the next meeting.
Mhm.
So at least we see them
Mhm.
and start seeing them.
Yeah.
You could create a bike score fairly easily. How easy is it to get their own bike?
Oh yeah.
How close is it proximity to routes?
Do they have bicycle parking? Do they have long-term parking for the employees? Is the employee parking separate than the customer parking? Because they're going to have a storefront
Companies
for
make metrics
customers
all the
to go
time.
there to buy
You can
bread.
Definitely make one that has numbers on it.
Okay. Gary, was there any other items?
We met with the developer for House today, and they are getting very close to getting a permit for projects, including the roundabout Hacker Pass, including from us the permit to construct the trail along 152 on the north side, and also the trailhead part there at the corner of Signage at 152. Once those projects move forward, there's also going to be another project that's in design right now that will link the terminus point, which was scheduled to, coming in the eastbound direction to terminate. You've probably seen the plans, and then to have the roadway connection to the corner. We've worked it out with their designers to actually do improvements back to curb, so the bike facility will be continuous and then transition to the back to curb to get to the corner of the park area. So that project will be done towards the end of the trail project, but in conjunction with the project. So we continue. All those projects should be starting up. Road channel, it's ready to go again. We've done resolution on a number of issues there, getting permits, working with the contractor, et cetera. That'll get started. First Street project is taking the parking castle in First Street April, so we'll bring that. We'll share with you the presentation that we did during the community outreach for that project.
Cool. All right. Any agenda items for next meeting that anybody wants to put on?
Nope.
No? Okay. At this point.
Do we want anything about the discussion we just had on the agenda, or just
review
the
plans? Plans.
Or just view that as covered now?
Good question. I don't know. What do you want to have on there?
No, I don't have anything in mind.
How about confirm access to data?
Okay. All right. Okay, that's it?
Yeah.
All right, so adjourn the meeting to March 26th at 6 p.m. Thank you all for being here.
Shut up. Lovely